Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just did a video with my dear friend and sister Candace, and I wanted to just kind of riff off of that video. We've been talking a lot about ears and some synchronicities and some teachable moments that Candace has had recently with her kids, and hopefully someone finds it helpful for maybe what they're experiencing in their own lives. Recently, I've been doing videos on some of the hardships that some of us have been facing, some of those everyday struggles, right, that we go through, and how to kind of stay in flow when we're going through those struggles. My most recent videos, the guides have really been kind of calling our attention and going within, and how important it is right now to really make sure that we're focusing on finding our center, finding ourselves. And Candace touched briefly on the earth. She's picking up a lot on how important it is for us to get grounded and come back to simplicity. Well, that's kind of what my theme has been for years, although not all my videos are very simple. But I do have fun with them. And in these difficulties, we find so much more. And in our video before, we were talking about the pearl, right? It was like this pearl of wisdom kind of came through for her and her experience with her kids. So if you're interested, I invite you to go back and watch that video. In the meantime, I just want to go right into flow with what the guides have to share. And so we wish to go into the topic of listening, because many of us think we listen with our ears. Many of us think that our ears are what are used to hear, obviously they are, the sounds that are all around us. And we would venture to say, of course, this is true. Yet the deeper you, the inner ear, the inner listening, and we will play with this as in reference to the previous message that I was alluding to, ear can be found within. Ear can be found within many words. And what are words other than a form of communication? So when we tune into this deeper sense of communication, when we establish this connection point, when we truly listen to our inner heart, Heart, when we tune into the earth, Earth, boy, this is going to be a spelling test for Carrie. When we tune in these ways, we recognize something deeper. We hear more. We access more. For the ear is not only I'm seeing a vegetable or a shell, like that shape, a spiral, if you will. I'm seeing Fibonacci. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the spiral, the gold means. It is not only a vegetable with hairs and crystals. It is alive in itself. It is a whole other part of the whole picture. It is a piece of the entire organism. So therefore, many of us have only been utilizing the ear as a thing that we use to hear what is happening in our world and in our reality, yet we are not always tuning into our inner world and reality. And through this, we can tune into the echo of so much more. For we are opening the door when we open to listening. And this requires us to sit and be, to sit still and be still. It sits within our own essence, this inner vestibule, this vessel. I'm being called to play with this for a moment. So I've got about 15 minutes. Let's see if I can get this in here. So I now know why I was called to look this up. So let's play with this, shall we? I'm on clevelandclinic.org. Your ears are paired organs located on each side of your head, which help with hearing and balance. There are several conditions that can affect your ears. We'll come back to this in just a moment. If you guys have never looked at this, it's fascinating to actually look inside of the ear, the vestibular. Oh, there is something called a vestibular nerve. Did not know that. Yes, I took anatomy, but it was a long time ago. So vestibular nerve and the semicircular canals and the cochlea. I'm being called to talk about all of this in a flow. The eardrum and the, I'm probably gonna butcher this one, Eustachian tube. Sorry guys. Ossicles. Oh boy. So I'm seeing so much in this picture, and I encourage you to play with this, but I'm being called to keep going. Your ears have two main functions, hearing and balance. When sound waves enter your ear canal, your tympanic membrane, eardrum, vibrates. This vibration passes on to three tiny bones, ossicles, in your middle ear. The ossicles amplify and transmit these sound waves to your inner ear. Oh, you guys, I'm in mad flow right now. Once the sound waves reach your inner ear, tiny hair cells called stereocilia, you guys, I apologize, transform the vibrations into electrical energy and send it along nerve fibers to your brain. Balance. Your inner ear contains semicircular canals filled with fluid and hair-like sensors. When you move your head, the fluid inside these loop-shaped canals sloshes around and moves the hairs. The hairs transmit this information along the vestibular nerve to your brain. Finally, your brain sends signals to your muscles to help you stay balanced. I feel like this is also relevant. Boy, here we go. Temporal lobe, tympanic membrane. Oh, I've got to go into your middle ears. Also house those tubes, Eustachian tubes. Okay, so maybe I'll do a separate video on this where I share screen, but let's get back into flow first. And again, apologies on me butchering all those words. We use all of these as an example of language and communication. And while the actual pronunciation of this type of communication template may not have been truly achieved, they're making fun of me. They, meaning my higher guidance team, they have a big sense of humor. We would invite you to move past that particular analogy, not dwell on it. For the dwelling that you are holding within you, your own temple, your structure, your temple that houses the soul, so to speak, is going through a massive sweep through. You are being swept up, one might say, in some cases. And yet during this sweep up, I'm hearing sweepstakes, sweep up, there will be much loose dirt and many particles that get stuck within our template along the way. These too are being brought up to the surface. And in this way, we are connecting with things or parts of ourselves that have been kept hidden, that have been kept, let us say, not quite activated. And so the inner ear template houses many different jobs, frequencies, or gives us the ability to utilize many of our inner or innate or dormant resources. And as we activate these resources that were dormant, that are now here at our door knocking, I'm seeing the drum, the ear drum, and the drum represents rhythm, which also tunes into the heart, the heartbeat, right? Sometimes we can hear the heartbeat in our inner ear. And I'm being called to talk about the fibers. So I'm seeing a lot too. So I'm just going to try to hone in on this. When we listen, ba-bump, 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 we recognize that our entire system is filled with a liquidity. We are also, let us say, poured into a viscous suit of many different membranes and plasma-like fluids. This fluid that is within us and the fluid that is around us that we are poured into, this cascade, if you will, is a resonance. It is, oh, I'm hearing it's a resin, like when you see amber inside of a tree. It holds a resonance, and we are being called to be in deeper resonance. We will play with this for a moment, for the ears are encased inside of a skin sac, and there is a sac that is inside this inner looping. And this is so symbolic of what we are encased within. In fact, our entire body is a replica of the larger being that we are all part of, if you will. For this living light frequency of energy, and I'm seeing crystalline fluid, is part of what we are sending signals out to. So we are not only listening, but we are communicating. And just as the ear sends signals to the brain, and the body then comes into balance based on what we are hearing, how we are interpreting those signals, and how well those signals are flowing in our vestibular canal, so to speak. This is an analogy, one might say. This is a reference to bigger things at work. Can we see beyond this small version of we? Can we see into this huge orchestration that we are all part of? So in this template, within this activation, we can say, there is a mother of pearl. Okay, I'm being called to play with this because the synchronicity in Candace's experiences, she's a mother pulling a pearl out of her child's ear. Well, the doctor did that, but, and again, I invite you to listen to her story in the previous video. But I'm hearing it's like mother of pearl wisdom, and it has something to do with the inner ear and the vestibular canal that is being honed in on right now. And so this is beyond my own understanding. I'm sharing this with you in real time. I think I might have talked about this before, so I'll have to go into that, into a deeper flow perhaps. And this is a lot in this particular transmission to explain, and we are being invited to go into this more at perhaps a different time for a better linear explanation. But on the physical scale, we are being up-leveled, if you will, and the scales of balance may be tipping for some. I'm seeing people with like balance issues, dizziness, because the inner ear is readjusting for some of us, and it's being affected by the patterns that are inside of the earth. And what I'm being shown is in reference to what Candace was saying, and I have goosebumps, is that the earth is also going through these recalibrations. So we are deeply connected to the earth. So while she recalibrates, we have to recalibrate as well, because the way that the earth is balancing is shifting. And so therefore the way that I'm hearing weights, scales and measurements, the way that we have to balance is also shifting. So we're being called to really fine tune and allow ourselves to find our new tune, balance, come back into more clarity. And this involves us going deeper into listening. So many of us are listening to loud noises, and these noises are grating, play on words, to the senses. I'm seeing like cheese grater. They are desensitizing, one might say, and they are drowning out the finely tuned and orchestrated sounds that the earth is playing. For within her structure, the template, she too has water, as we have in the human skin suit. She too has crystals and tiny hairs and mycelium that send signals to her own inner canals. These inner canals that loop and move through the geometry and configuration of the earth that each of you and I inhabit, play on words, is shifting. So we are being called to redirect our attention and listen. For the more we listen to nature and the more we nurture ourselves and really tune into what she is telling us, and this is nature as in not just earth, but all of nature, right? And all of nature is on the planet. So the water, the trees, the plants, the animals, our food, which are the plants, and in some cases the animals, for some people, the oceans, which are the waters, the rivers, which are the waters, but like all of it, stopping and tuning into more. To step away from the energies of pure electricity, we must find harmonization and balance that electrical conduit with the grounding template that is necessary and required to allow ourselves to operate in our full accord. And that's a play on words as well, like agreement, accord, tune, and accord. Yeah. And so as we go within, we hear, and it has been referred to from myself as the sound behind the sound. But rather than thinking of behind, we would invite you to go deeper past the mind and go deeper into the minds, into the heart of gold, if you will, and tune into the structure that is held within our own template, architecture. I'm hearing the arc within. For as we tune into this structure, it allows us to hear a deeper reflection. I'm seeing a pool, and I see this inside of the earth. It's like a sound. And I think maybe this is what Candace was picking up on. We didn't get to flow fully into that because who has enough time for all of those flows? But the earth is singing. And while there is much that is covering up her wavelength, there are those of us who are listening. There are those of us who are tuning in. And because of our attention to her, and because of our attention that we are spending to go within, we are now communicating to and through our own temple structure of the inner crystals, crystalline, crystal lines. I'm seeing ley lines, meridians in the body, meridians in the earth, acupressure points. This allows us to stabilize our frequencies and in turn assist Earth in stabilizing her own patterns. For that which we see on Earth that seems destabilizing is a direct reflection of our own templates or lack of care or inner knowing. So I'm just seeing many of us have been talking. Many of us have been listening to others talking, but we haven't necessarily gone within and listened. I've got something in my eye. Or watching, I guess. I think this is a symbol. It's my hair, which I think is ironic because it's the hairs and the eyes, right? The hairs and the ears. I'm not used to wearing my hair like this, so. So these spindles are reaching out to listen. It's almost as if they have been awakened from a dormant stage of dormant activity because they have not been stimulated enough, and they have been overstimulated by noise, and I'm hearing like a pounding sound. They have been unable to truly, it's almost like they went dormant to protect themselves. And I mean, how many of us have listened to a lot of loud music over the years, and then we lose our hearing, and that's a whole other story. But what I'm being shown is what was dormant is now opening. And these tiny fibers are reaching out throughout the entire body. We could say that this is the internal mycelium network. For the body not only has hairs on the outside covered, it also has hairs on the inside in a different form of distribution. It is not only held within the network of the mycelium of the inner, I'm hearing fiber mycelium. And I'm seeing, I keep hearing vegetables. And I'm hearing cochlea. So let me play with that just for a moment, and then I have to maybe be continued. Okay, here we go down the rabbit hole, or the ear canal. So I see everything as quantum. And so vestibule, if you look this up on dictionary, it's an antechamber, hall or lobby next to the outer door of a building, our temple, right? Our template. In anatomy, it is a chamber or channel opening into another, okay? A passage, hall, or room between the outer and the interior of a building. And I see this all is relevant. Am I recording still? Okay. So, entrance or court. So I see this as so many different plays on words. Okay. Now, I'm also been called to go into cochlea, to look at that as a double meaning. I am pretty sure I did a video about this. And when I'm in flow, I don't remember it. It's like a dream sometimes. So I'm going to have to go back and combine these. And I'm really being called, if you feel called, to go in and look at the anatomy a little bit more. Like, get to know our bodies a little bit. The cochlea is the part of the inner ear involved in hearing. It is a spiral-shaped cavity in the bony labyrinth in the human. I did do a video on this. Okay, apparently this is relevant again. So they call it the organ of Corti or Corti or spiral organ. I can't wait to go back into this a little bit. Talks about transduction. Oh, you guys. So I'm going to just give you the simple version before I get too out there, which I probably already have gotten too far out there. But let's keep it simple. So what I'm seeing is this, everything that we have, so within, so without. So what's happening in our bodies is happening in the earth in its own way. And it's also happening in our galaxy, if we want to call it that. Or we could say it's happening in our solar system. Now, why is this relevant? Because we have dormant gifts and abilities that we haven't used in a long time. And this is where when we're listening and we're going inside, we begin to re-stimulate the cells. So I could go into all parts of the body and talk about each one working in its own way that's doing this. So our ears are going through upgrades. We hear these ringing in the ears. There's a reason. That is listening to an inner sound. And I will probably continue to do more videos like this because I don't fully understand it yet. But I do know that some of us are more sensitive to sound right now. Some of us, I know I am. And it can be, everything kind of seems grating right now. because we are going through a shift and we're becoming more sensitive to things. Eventually, we'll start to balance out from what I'm seeing. And I think the guides are just trying to share this is what's happening, really get to know our bodies so we can kind of understand what's happening inside of us. And recognizing that if we're not listening and taking the time to stop talking, which I know I'm talking in this video, but I do go into meditation. And when I'm listening to someone, usually I'm hearing with my inner ear. I'm listening from my heart, which is our inner ear. It's spiraling down and I'm listening and I'm responding to the signal that I'm feeling through the sound that is being interpreted by my body and my brain. For me, that's one way of simplifying how we are listening with more than just our outer ear. So we're being called to hear deeper. And I'm seeing that as a play on words like H-E-R-E. Here we are going deeper into our inner ear to listen to our inner heart, to hear more than what we have heard before. So that's all a play on words. So I'm going to just keep going with this in another video, but I hope that you kind of felt that what I was kind of going for here and found it fun and maybe a little insightful. And I'll invite you to play again next time in this play on words. In love and light, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste.